How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation. It's time to get creative. It's time to get that imagination running wild. And it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Francisco Herrera. If you're not familiar with his work, check right over there. He's worked for Disney, Warner Brothers. He did stuff with some of the Star Wars stuff. I believe he did some... yeah, I'm not sure about that. But I think he did some Teen Titans as well. But he's a phenomenal character designer, and I will link some more stuff about him in the description below. He's one of my favorites. Definitely one of the first people that I really fell in love with when I got into kind of like looking at online art and illustration for sure. Just great design, great expressions, really creative, and I really got that nice, bold, crisp line work that I really appreciate as well. But yeah, he's just phenomenal. I love, look at that expression, really pushing that, those expressions, and great layout. Yeah, I really just love his character design. He's one of my favorites. Really exaggerated neck there, but it still works. Like it's he takes the fundamentals of anatomy and just twists them just enough so that he doesn't feel like it's broken or off, but really exaggerates them to really interesting art appeal. And that's one of those things too that they talk about is if you make it too realistic, you may as well just like film it or take a picture or something. So you do want to take some artistic liberties to it to bring some different life or exaggerate some different aspects of it. But phenomenal artist, illustrator, and character designer. And then this came from an interview that he did where he was kind of giving some advice, and I thought that would be a great thing to share. Search and fight for the things that you want. Don't give up. And try and try and try and try all the times you need. And I think that's phenomenal, just to keep being persistent, find what it is that you're passionate about and that what you want in life, and just go after it with just an intense veracity and never give up. And I think that's great advice to anyone in any sort of medium that they're working at, is to just keep going, keep working at it every day until you find that success. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into our animation for the day. And if you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for the rest of the video, we give ourselves 48 frames is 2 seconds of animation. And this is the Bork rig. It's a free rig you can grab over at Creative Crash, which I will link to in the description below if you guys want to try it out. And don't forget, if you do end up using this rig in an animation, to share it back so you can see all the awesome stuff you guys are coming up with. And basically, for the rest of the video, just be a little bit of over the shoulder, kind of hang out with me while I animate. Maybe you'll learn something along the way, or what I really hope is that you guys get inspired to go off and create your own stuff, and then definitely share it back to you so I can see all the amazing stuff you guys are coming up with. And that being said, let's go ahead and get in here. Okay, sorry about that. So let's go ahead and get started and start creating that storytelling pose. I thought for this one it might be fun to do more of like a Neanderthal or like a caveman, or one of those really heavy, like arms on the ground kind of a walk. Not completely animalistic, but definitely where the arms are kind of supporting some of the weight as well. Thought that would be kind of fun to try out with this rig. It seemed like it would lend itself well to something like that. And let's go ahead and take that out and bring that back up. I kind of want to puff out that chest, I think. Let's see what that is here. And I still want to crook the neck down, then out, rotate that out this way, bring the hips down here, and bring that hand down. Let's rotate it Z, and then rotate Y, so we can bring it down here. It does look like there's a little bit of disconnection there, so that's okay. I just want to be aware of that, just so further down the road I'm not thinking that I gotta get it too close, because it's just going to disconnect on its own. And let's bring that down and rotate that way, and let's spread the feet apart here. Bring that foot back a little bit there, and that's strange. Way to set up those fingers. Let's see if there's a different controller or something that we're missing here. Okay, yeah, we'll just do it this way then, that's fine. And let's do the thumb curl. And see if we can't rotate that. Yeah, see, that's funky way to do those hands, unfortunately. I guess we can do a little bit of that. And let's bring this right back down here so we get a nice kind of plant there. Then we're going to need to move it forward here so we're not intersecting into the foot. But I feel like this is kind of a fun idea to play around with this rig with. And let's put that up. And bring that down here as well. Just want to keep that kind of flat there. And let's pull it in. And sorry about that. Let's go ahead and bring that thumb curled in. And then I think we did a little bit of rotate. See, this one seems to be working different than the other one. Funky. Okay, that controller doesn't seem to be doing what I was hoping it would. Let's see. Spread that a little bit. Alright, well, we gotta use what we got here. Let's do maybe a little more thumb curl here. Let's move that hand in a little bit. If we can't get as good a hand posing, it does kind of suck, but we'll continue on. We'll muscle through. And I think overall it's an alright starting pose, maybe. Push that forward a little bit. Do something more akin to something like that. Yeah. Let's rotate the hands a little bit more so we get that little bit of not straight head on here. Let's also splay the feet out a little bit more as well. And a little bit more here. Okay, I think that works alright. So let's go ahead and turn our grid off. Let's go ahead and save our file. And we are using Autodesk Maya 2014. Phenomenal program. If you haven't picked it up for yourself and you want to get into animation, it's definitely the one I would suggest. And the newer versions are really cool too. They have some definite interesting features and stuff, but I just like using a little bit of an older one just because it takes up a little less system resources while I'm recording. And let's go ahead and grab everything here. Go ahead and set a key on our first frame and let's start building this. And the first thing we're going to want to do is do the feet and the hips here. And go raise that one up. And put it down. Push the hips forward there. And let's move the hands forward as well for right now. I'm not exactly sure the best way that I'm going to go about doing the hands, because I think I want them to just kind of drag, but we might use them for a little bit of support here too. But I'm just going to lock in the feet and the hips first, and then we'll get back into the hands. Step's probably too big, so let's go ahead and bring it back. Just want kind of equal amount of space between them. Kind of go where the heel and the middle section of the foot kind of match up there, just to give us kind of a good frame of reference for how big we want each of the steps there. Bring our hips forward again. And then let's lock that one down. Bring it forward here. And again, we're just kind of finding our little marker here for the spacing on our steps so they're fairly even. And let's go lock that one down and bring this one forward here. Okay, and we'll bring the hips forward as well. And let's grab the hands and we'll go ahead and just drag them forward for right now. A little bit more on the hips. And the hips are a little bit not centered over, well balanced over the feet, but that's because we've got the hands here to kind of help give a solid frame there for them. Alright, we've got definitely some work to do there, but it's starting to come together. And let's look at the translation on those hips and let's make that a constant. So there's a consistent amount of movement from left to right on the hips, rather than slowing in and slowing out. And let's go and look at that. I think we could probably pull it. There. We're going to push it forward, I think, a little more. A little more there, too. Let's go ahead and lock down these hands. Go forward here. Okay, and let's go ahead and go in here. Copy that over there. Forward a little bit more. Copy that there, so let's see. Of course, we're getting some poppiness, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. That's definitely more of a polished thing there. So let's go ahead and lift that up there and bring it back down. Just get those passing positions set up here. Oh, let's look at the other foot. And we're just going to lock in all the keys we already have there. Let's go ahead and lift it up here, bring it down, lift it up. And bring it down, so let's see. Alright, definitely got a lot of polish to do here, but I think it's starting to come together, the main idea at least. Let's go ahead and shrink down the steps and kind of even them out there along the back. Let's go look at that here. Okay, and let's go ahead and do a little bit of rotate back there and have them drag. Let's work that out. Rotate back there. And let's work that out. So let's go look at that now. Okay, and let's go ahead and do a little bit of drag on this other foot here. So again, we're going to rotate it back. And rotate it back again. Bring it down, so let's see. Okay, let's see if there's a toe controller here. I think we want this one here. No? Funky. Wonder if there's a roll? No. Swivel? No. Wonder if it's guess we can blend the two. Do something akin to like that. Guess that'll work. Rotate that. I'll zero it out again. And I'll zero it out again. So we kind of blended the two curves a little bit to get a little bit of a toe drag, but that's okay. Gives a little more life to that toe. And maybe we'll do a little less rotate back there. And then I think a little more rotate up toe. I want it to intersect though. I guess that's okay. It's kind of just touching there and then like lifting up. That's okay. I think it might be too much though. So let's go ahead because it just feels a little poppy. We just want it to feel kept alive rather than that. So okay, and then let's kind of just copy kind of what we had. Let's lock in here, take that, and then we'll tweak it too so it's not exactly the same, but just so there's a little variation between the two. We want the kind of the same feel there. Okay, and let's go ahead and get into doing that on the other foot. And again, this is why it's kind of fun to try out different rigs each time, is because you have to come up with creative solutions sometimes to get what you want, because different rigs are built differently, and then just helps hone your animation skills and your creative mind a little bit more than just doing, you know, continuing to push with the same rig if you use it all the time, because then you get really familiar with it and then you get a little bit casual. But the same thing is it's really nice sometimes to use the same rig over and over again, because then you get really familiar with it and then you can push stuff a little bit more because you don't have to worry about learning each time something new. But there's advantages to each side, but I think, at least for now, I think we might eventually get back into using more of the same rig all the time and just doing more different and varied exercises rather than doing more where we really do kind of focus on walks or, you know, basic kind of like left to right or up to down movement, you know, one side of one screen to the other screen. But I think it'll be fun to get back into some more acting things, probably in another month or so. Once I've kind of exhausted most of the style I personally am drawn to on the free rigs, because there's a lot of free rigs out there, but I try to focus on the ones that personally have an aesthetic that I lean towards a little bit more. Especially a lot of the ones that are probably, you know, 6 years old or so, and were really like free resources back when there weren't a lot of people animating. Sometimes aren't as aesthetically charming as some of the ones that you can get now. And let's go ahead and look at that. We might need to raise this foot up a little bit more, or adjust our drag, because I want that lift to still feel like it's coming up off the ground, and right now it feels like it's intersecting there a little bit. So let's just go ahead and just lift the foot up then a little bit more. Same kind of problem here, steps. And again, we still want the steps to be low, but since we are dragging the foot so much, it's okay to raise them up a little bit higher because it's not going to feel like they're really high steps because the foot's almost dragging the whole time. Okay, now let's do a little bit of movement in the hips. Tip them over to favor the planted foot here, and same there, and back over here, and back there, and then we'll zero that out again. Let's go ahead and see that now. And this is another reason why I didn't want to get too much into the pops and the arms just yet, is because with all the twisting that we'll be doing on the hips and the chest and all the swaying and stuff, that would be, in a fairly typical style walk, it's going to cause the arm to both stretch out at certain points and pull back. And then once we've got that kind of nailed in a little bit more, then we'll get more into those elbow and knee kind of issues. Because if you do them too early, you're just going to have to readjust them again. And that's a lesson that I learned pretty much the hard way. When I was first learning to animate, I used to try and make stuff as polished as I could. And this is something that you'll learn probably, or you already know which probably most of you already do, because you guys are really smart. You are. But I'll just talk about it. Just since we're already kind of on the subject, and that is when you're first learning a skill, you'll learn a couple little tricks and tips and stuff here and there, and then you might not really have it all nailed down, even the basic fundamentals, but you'll put those little oh, I really know how to cross shade really good, so everything is going to be really janky, but the cross shading will be really nice, so that makes my work look a little bit better than it would. But in reality, the glow, the huge I'll just put this in let's say I'm doing a drawing and I'm first learning how to draw, but I'm really I can do noses really well and really good shading on a nose. So I have this portrait where the eyes are a little wonky and the chin's kind of got a gouge coming out of it or something, because you just aren't understanding form and the fundamentals of drawing. But the nose is spot on, and it just shows those different growing steps and growing pains as you're learning something. And the same thing is in animation, where at first you're oh, I got to make sure there's no pops in any of my work, nothing. So you go through and you do all that, but you don't really focus on the fundamentals first. And you're just going to be adding more time to your shot if you want to polish it out there. And let's rotate the hips to favor the front forward step there. The other way. Again. And we'll definitely offset the chest here too. And again, when I'm talking about any of that stuff, I'm definitely growing along with you guys. I know there's definitely, especially with the shorter amount of time that we give for doing these videos, there's definitely tons more polish I can put in a lot of these shots for sure. But I think that's part of the process too, is learning, speed and accuracy and trying to blend the two. Sometimes I'll get videos that are faster but are more janky, and sometimes we'll have stuff that's more polished but takes a lot longer. And it kind of depends on your time constraints as well that you're giving yourself to work in. And I'm going to favor that front planted arm, the other one there again, and there again, and there again. And see, we just kind of scaled out a lot of that really straights on those arms. There, a little bit there, and I'll bring it back. Okay, and let's go ahead and clean that up too, make sure we're not favoring one side too much versus the other. Like here, we got one that's pretty high value. Our lower values seem fairly even. And we'll kind of just make... And again, it's not... You don't want everything to be exactly to the point even, because you want to have some variation between, one step versus another. or one move versus another, but you want them to feel like it's not favoring like the left side or the right side of the movement, unless in particular, you know, you got a guy with like a limp or something, then you're obviously going to want to favor one side, or someone whose leg fell asleep or any of that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and look at that now. We're definitely going to have to offset what we did in the head there. I think we might do a little more. Take my hair. Or rotate X, I think it is. This one. To favor the front place step, just because I want to avoid those elbow bumps. Be careful to make sure that it doesn't feel like he's stepping on his own hand there either. Okay. Okay, let's get into the neck here and let's do this head on. Figure out how we can get it to be focused more forward. So right now, I'm kind of having to, what we're doing is basically offsetting the neck from the movement of the chest so that we don't get such a wobbly head here. And then we also want to do a little bit here just to keep him like looking straight ahead. Okay, let's do a little bit of up and down here in the hips too. And we'll go down, and up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Let's go look at that. Yeah, feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and clean up that a little bit more. As you can see, the reason why we do this cleanup is because we have this first one that's really a big dip down, and then it kind of tapers off a little bit here to be fairly even, and then we got some smaller ones. So we just want to kind of make that a little bit more balanced, so the amount that it goes up and down feels a little more universal. And again, it's not about making it completely equal, but just more about making it so that like one certain dip down doesn't feel really overpowered than the other. And it's starting to come together here. I think we're going to get into the hands. It just seems like there's a little bit of grit right here, so I'm trying to see what we can do. It's just pretty much these last couple of frames just feel like kind of locks in. So maybe that's something in the neck here. Stomach's growling, sorry about that. Maybe it's the amount of rotate there. Let's see. Too much about that. Let's do a little bit of compression too. So let's go ahead and rotate the hips down, down, up, down, up. It's obviously going to be a bit too much, so let's go ahead and scale that back here. Boy, my stomach is really growling. I suppose I should probably eat sometime today. And let's go ahead and look at that again. Way too much, so we're going to have to offset it with the chest here. And what is it here? This is Z, I believe. Just doing the opposite of what we had done in the hips. And again, we're probably going to have to really scale this back. I can foresee this being a bit too much. So let's first even out the rotate Z's that we just added, and then we're going to scale them back, and then we'll play that little bit of tweaking the hips, tweaking the chest, tweaking the hips, tweaking the chest until we get it right to where we want it. This just adds that little bit of compression so that you can have a little bit of fleshiness in the belly by doing a little bit of this kind of a thing. Keeps it alive versus feeling really like it's all one like cylinder. Really makes it feel like there's different. Actually feels pretty good. Let's do a little bit of dip in the head here. Okay, I think that's Z here. I think we'll delay it a frame two. Let's go ahead and even out that movement here. And let's go 2 frames. Let's go look at that now. Bounce in the head. A little bit of delay there too. Okay, now let's go ahead and do a little bit of lift in these hands here too. First I want to lock in everything we have here. I think we'll do a little bit of lift and drag, so we'll do a little bit up. Let's go ahead and rotate Z, drag it back, and push it forward, plant, drag it back, and push it forward, plant. So let's see. And then we'll do a little bit of movement on the fingers too, just to add a little bit of kind of keep alive there. Let's go ahead and lock in the wrist here on the other hand. Okay, let's compare the two. I feel like there's at least one of those is a little too high, and it's this one right here. Again, they don't have to be exactly the same in the amount of height, but there's definitely that one that seemed like it was a little bit too much. And then it's just distracting here. So let's see. Okay, and let's go to save our file again. And let's go ahead and take a look at these fingers. I'm just going to kind of lock in the main plants that we want here. And let's go ahead and drag them down a little bit. Squeeze them up. Too much of that because we still look like they're planted. do like a little bit of recoil there and settle. See, now you have a little bit of pullback. Okay, and then we're gonna drag them down again. Set that. Not too much, but a little bit. That's good. I'll look at that now. And let's take the index finger here and let's push it forward a frame so it'll kind of lead the movement, and that way there's a little bit of break up there. And let's go ahead and take a look at the other side. Then we'll figure out what we're going to do with these thumbs. Like I said, I wish that they were kind of structured a little bit differently, but we'll use what we got to work with here. And we're going to take that same approach here. With this hand, we're going to drag those guys there, lift them up a little bit, and bring them down. Drag those guys there and lift them up a little bit. It's probably too much overshoot for those fingers. We're probably going to snap a little bit hard, so let's go ahead and look at it there. And then let's take the index finger and let's go ahead and lead with that as well. Okay, let's go ahead and see that now. Starting to come together. Okay, now let's take a look at those thumbs and see what we can do there. So we can do a little bit of drag there. Kind of go back into there. Don't want those thumbs to kind of lock off. It's okay for these fingers to kind of lock off a little bit. I would definitely go in and do a little bit on the mids and the tips if we could, but those controllers aren't really working the way that I would like. But the thumb, we don't want those to completely lock off, or that to completely lock off. So I think what we'll go ahead and do is we'll go in here, and we'll just add a little bit of, oh, I thought that was right. Which controller am I looking for? Should be the right one here. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to do here is do a little bit of thumb curl there. And that's probably too much, but so there's a little bit of movement throughout. Just so it doesn't completely lock off and freeze there. Like I said, there's just that little bit of movement to keep it alive there. And because those hands are going to be planted there, I don't want the knuckles here that are the planted part to really move too much, and there's not an individual tip controller, which if there was, I would probably do a little bit of micro movement throughout there. And now this thumb's going to be a little bit more difficult because, like I said, I don't think this curve is really working correctly. But perhaps we could just do a little bit on the tip there. Since we don't really can't use this controller since it's not working correctly, we'll have to stick with that. And then we'll just do maybe a little more thumb curl here. Thumb curl here. And probably that's too much, so I'll scale it back a little bit. Let's go ahead and look at that again. Enough to keep that thumb alive. It's not perfect, but considering the joint's kind of not working as intended, I think we It'll work small enough. Okay, let's kind of find a good camera angle to go with. Right here, and let's take a look here. Definitely feels kind of gorilla-y or monkey-y or maybe caveman-y. Yeah, I think that'll work. So let's go ahead and create another camera here. And panels, perspective, we'll look through that new camera that we have. And we'll create polygon primitives cube. And we'll just give ourselves a different colored background here. We'll rotate it there. Then we'll look through our perspective window again. Kind of tweak this a little bit more that way. Perhaps bring it back a little bit. Scale it up a little bit taller and a little bit wider. And this one, I think we're going to go ahead and scale that a little more as well, just so that it intersects there. And let's assign a new material here. Let's put a Lambert on it. Let's go ahead and save our file again real quick here, just to make sure. And let's give this Lambert a little bit of maybe like kind of a dirtier color there. Yeah, that'll work. And let's go ahead and turn off our NURB curves. Let's go ahead and look at that and see how it turned out. Yeah, I feel like that works pretty well. So let's go ahead and take a look back at where we started. We were looking at Francisco Herrera, a phenomenal character designer. If you haven't checked out his work, I definitely urge you guys to go do that and see all of his beautiful creations. He's got such a unique style, and I, for one, am a huge fan of it. And his quote from today was, "Search and fight for the things you don't..." Sorry. Voice is going crazy today. So search and fight for the things you want. Don't give up, and try and try and try and try all the times you need. Never give up. I challenge you guys every day. We talk about this all the time. Just to continue pursuing your dreams and following your dreams. And just don't give up. Fight for the things that you want. Search out. If you don't know what it is that you want to do with your life, find it. Find it. Go right now. Stop what you're doing and just try different things until you find the thing that you're completely passionate about. And then once you found it, don't let go. Fight for it every day. Find that time every day to sit down and put your effort into it and think about it and just follow your passion every day. How's it going? So many distractions today. I apologize, guys, but you guys are awesome. Thanks for the likes and thanks for subscribing. Definitely comment down below if you ended up liking this one. If you think there's things that you would have done differently, definitely comment down below. If there's things that you liked or you learned, same, comment down below. And if you have any questions or any of that kind of stuff, and then if you do end up using this rig, definitely share back all the wonderful stuff you're creating, and that goes for anything that you guys are working on. I want to see those things that you guys are passionate about and give you some extra encouragement as well. And as always, you guys are amazing and you're awesome. You're the reason I do this. You're wonderful. And that being said, we will see you for some more animation tomorrow.